I never imagined yelling at a millionaire would lead to my dream of a family. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The rain poured down, drumming against the windows like a frantic heartbeat. I stood there, trembling, hands clenched into fists, staring out at the street. My chest felt tight, as if someone had wrapped a vice around my heart. It was the kind of day where every drop seemed heavy with fate. I was stressed, juggling work, bills, and my dreams that seemed just out of reach. My family distant now, my brother too busy with his own life, and my parents miles away, blissfully unaware of my aching loneliness. I ached for connection, for the love that had slipped through my fingers like sand. I glanced at my phone, no messages, no calls, just silence. Then he walked in. Jason Sterling, the notorious billionaire, with his designer suit and piercing blue eyes. He was everything I despised but envied all at once. Wealth dripped from him like a cologne I could smell across the room. My heart raced, but not for the reasons I thought. He didn't know me, but I felt like I knew him. The glimmer of his fortune made me squirm. I needed a job, but I wasn't going to kiss the feet of someone who flaunted his money like a trophy. As I approached him, I could hear whispers from the crowd gathering around us. "Who does she think she is?" someone murmured. My stomach twisted. I could feel their judgment weighing down on me like a heavy blanket. But I kept walking, adrenaline surging through me. What I didn't know was that this moment would shatter everything I had known. I yelled at him, my voice rising above the murmurs of disbelief. "You think your money makes you better than the rest of us? It doesn't." The din fell silent. Eyes widened, breaths were held. The air crackled with tension as I stood there, heart pounding, adrenaline rushing. For a fleeting moment, time stopped. In his gaze I saw a blend of surprise and intrigue. And then, his lips curved into a smirk, as if my fury fascinated him. That smirk broke the dam inside me. We exchanged words, heated and raw. A dance of defiance and curiosity. I wanted to hate him, yet somehow my heart fluttered. I threw the last of my courage into my voice. "People like you have lost touch with what really matters." But in that moment I didn't realize I had sparked something in him. In a flash, the crowd gasped as he stepped closer, the heat from his body radiating towards me. "And what is that exactly?" he asked, his tone slightly taunting, but I could sense something deeper lurking beneath. That question hung in the air like a thick fog that couldn't be lifted. And then the unthinkable happened. A hush fell as he leaned in, inches from my face, and whispered, "What if I offered you a chance to find out?" My stomach dropped, my heart raced. What was he proposing? Was this a joke? But the look in his eyes was no laughing matter. Just like that, I stood on the edge of a cliff, a decision looming before me that could change everything. Would I take the leap and embark on a wild journey with the man I'd just yelled at? I felt a storm brewing inside me, fear mingling with a spark of hope, but uncertainty tethered me in place. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The rain had finally given way to a heavy fog, blanketing the city in a thick shroud that felt suffocating, much like my thoughts. Standing there, Jason's proposition echoed in my mind like a siren song, drawing me toward the edge of an abyss I was not sure I could trust. What could I glean from a man whose world was filled with excess beyond my wildest dreams? I stepped back, the crowd still buzzing with disbelief and curiosity, and rebuilt the walls I thought I'd let crumble in my moment of passion. "You must be joking," I replied, trying to maintain a veneer of indignation. "There's nothing you can offer that I would want." Yet, even as the words left my mouth, my heart whispered otherwise, fluttering with the allure of possibility. He chuckled softly, an unexpected sound that darted through the air, warming it just a little as he shifted his weight, appearing entirely unfazed. "I'm serious. Consider it an experiment. You and I both could gain something." His blue eyes held mine with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. In this moment of connection, the chatter and judgment of the crowd faded away, leaving just the two of us suspended in a world that felt entirely our own. But doubt crept in, winding itself around my hopeful heart like a vine filled with thorns. Why me? There are plenty of people who'd jump at the chance to dance in luxurious circles like yours. I don't belong in your world. Jason's smirk softened, and I caught a flicker of vulnerability dancing behind his confidence. Because you're the first person I've met who wasn't afraid to call me out. Most just bow to the throne I sit on, but you, he paused, weighing his words carefully. You reminded me of what it feels like to be alive. The weight of his statement sunk into me with an unexpected intensity. My whole life, I had sought connections that were genuine and unfiltered. Could this be an opportunity to learn something about the world that I could translate into my own longing for family and belonging? But just as hope flickered brightly, it dulled again when I thought about my current struggles. I had bills piling up and responsibilities closing in like a tidal wave. What kind of person was I to entertain this offer? I was just a waitress trying to make ends meet, not someone who could wade through the murky waters of a millionaire's world without getting swept away. I can't just follow you, I stammered, taking a step back, my resistance rising like a dam against the flow of emotion that wanted to spill over. I have responsibilities here. It's not just a game, sometimes it's about taking a risk. His voice was low, coaxing, as if he could read the turmoil spilling within me. The intensity of the moment sent shivers down my spine. You deserve to explore what else is out there. And who knows? It might just help you find what you've been missing. And why breath hitched. The fog around us seeming to pulse with unspoken feelings. My knees wobbled as I grappled with the wave of conflicting emotions crashing over me: fear, curiosity, anger, and the tantalizing pull of hope. So lost in my thoughts, I hadn't even noticed the tension in Jason's posture change. His face shifted as someone pushed through the crowd behind him. It was a girl, perhaps in her early 20s, her face contorted in worry. She grasped the sleeve of his expensive jacket, her voice trembling slightly. Jason, I've been looking for you everywhere. We need to talk about. She trailed off, spotting me. The concern in her eyes morphed into something resembling disdain. Excuse me, she said, her tone sharp. The air became thick with a sudden discomfort. This is not the time for. Jason interrupted her, an edge entering his voice. We'll talk later, Sophie. I'm busy right now. The flicker of anger and jealousy passed over her face. The weight of it hung in the air like a storm cloud. My heart sank. This was his world, filled with complications I didn't understand. Did I really want to dive into this mess? Yet, as I stood before him, Jason's gaze flickered back to me, determination radiating from his frame. Are you willing to take that leap with me? Or will you turn your back on the unknown, the real adventure? I hesitated, his words echoing through the fog around us. I could feel the sharp tug of fate slinging me back and forth between my mundane existence and the adventure he offered. But with every ounce of instinct urging me to flee, one thing became clear: the weight of my choices was about to exit the realm of theory and become startlingly real. Just then, a police siren wailed in the distance, pulling my attention out of the suspended moment. As I looked back at Jason, something in his eyes had shifted. A lingering fear emerged, as if he knew that there were consequences to his life that even his wealth couldn't shield him from. Meet me tomorrow, same place, he said with finality, his expression suddenly serious, almost burdened. You'll have to decido: remain anchored in your fears or to chase your dreams, no matter how uncharted they are. And with that he turned, leaving the tension of the crowd crackling in his wake. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. I stood rooted in place, a tempest within me swirling. I had a decision to make, but more importantly, I realized there were pieces left unturned in Jason's life, secrets I hadn't begun to uncover. Tomorrow would either bring adventure or a tempest far darker than the fog enveloping the night. I rushed home, my heart a strange mixture of anticipation and the edge of despair. Little did I know the surprises awaiting me would shatter not only my expectations but also redefine who I believed I could become. What awaited me in the morning was a mystery shrouded in uncertainty, but one thing became glaringly clear as I shut the door behind me. Sometimes the path to a new dream was paved with the most daunting of choices. The morning sun broke through the remnants of the fog, casting slivers of light across the city I had always known as my confining cage. As I readied myself for the day, I couldn't shake off the weight of yesterday's whirlwind. Each brush of my hair and knotting of my shoes felt like trying to squeeze into a life that no longer felt fitting. The thought of meeting Jason again sparked an electric thrill deep inside me. but it was tempered with fear. What did I even know about him? The rich often came with strings attached, lives intertwined with obligations and responsibilities I was not equipped to navigate. But the way he had looked at me like I was the only person in a crowded room pierced through my self-doubt, igniting a flicker of hope that I was not prepared to extinguish. Arriving at our meeting place, an upscale café with marble-top tables and golden accents, the reality of the life Jason inhabited hit me with dizzying force. It was a world far removed from the dingy diner where I served coffee and slice after slice of pie. I noticed the effortless grace with which patrons glided through the space, their laughter bubbling over like champagne. And there I was, an anomaly dressed in my old jeans and faded sweater, feeling every bit out of place. I waited, shifting in my seat, glancing through the expansive windows at the passing cars. An ache filled my chest as I remembered my father's laughter at the breakfast table, the smell of pancakes mingling with the morning air, long before the bills and the empty chairs became our new normal. In those precious moments I had always felt like I belonged. The weight of family was a comfort I hadn't realized I missed until now. 20 minutes ticked by, stretching like an eternity. Just when the urge to leave began to outweigh the urge to stay, I saw him. Jason strode in with an air of confidence that turned heads. His tailored suit only added to the allure of his presence, and I felt a swell of both admiration and trepidation. "I'm sorry I'm late," he said, his voice warm but not without hint of distraction. He slid into the seat opposite me, the atmosphere around us transforming with his arrival. "I had some business I couldn't push aside," I nodded, not trusting my voice. Instead, I observed the tension lurking beneath the surface of his calm demeanor, the subtle flicker in his eyes that hinted at worries far deeper than I had anticipated. "I've been thinking about your offer," I hesitated, gnawing on my bottom lip. Just before I could finish, the café's door swung open violently, the bell jingling in protest. A woman with fiery red hair stormed in, her expression fierce as she scanned the room. "Jason," she called out, her voice slicing through the ambient chatter. The surprise on his face was quickly replaced with concern as he stood, instinctively moving toward her, his posture tense as if bracing for a storm. "Vivian, this isn't the place," her sorrowful glare cut through the air, simmering before erupting. "You didn't return my calls. I need to talk. You can't just brush me off." I felt like an intruder in their private drama, my stomach twisting with anxiety. Jason's gaze flickered between me and Vivian, his expression a mix of irritation and guilt. "We can talk later," he insisted, but the underlying panic in his tone was evident. Vivian took a step closer, her voice low but laced with urgency. "You need to see the truth of what's happening. You play with fire, and you might get burned." Suddenly, the café felt smaller, the walls closing in on me as their conversation spiraled into an unguarded glimpse of Jason's life. He possessed allies and enemies alike, and his world was fracturing around him. But why? My heart raced, questions clawing at my mind. What reality did I want to enter with him? As Vivian turned to storm out, I caught a glimpse of her face, an unsettling edge of desperation shadowing her features. But before I could decipher if it sprung from concern or envy, she locked eyes with me, a silent accusation woven into her gaze. "You better be careful, girl. Not everything shines like it seems," and with that, she vanished from the café, leaving behind a trail of charged energy. The atmosphere shifted. The moment of reckless adventure I yearned for suddenly felt like standing on the edge of a dangerous cliff. Jason sat back down, his expression shadowed, a glimpse of anger fading into something more vulnerable. "Sorry about that," he said, rubbing a hand along his jaw, weariness creasing his brow. "Vivian is complicated. But I'm here now." I searched his eyes, desperate to peel back the layers of this new reality, wanting to bridge the gulf between his world and mine. "Tell me what's going on, Jason. I'm not looking to be a pawn in a power struggle I don't understand." His expression softened, then hardened again. "You deserve to know, but there's so much I can't." Before he could finish, a loud crash echoed from the café entrance, followed by frantic voices. My gaze shot past him where chaos erupted. A throng of people surged toward the exit, panic surging like a wave through the crowd. I stood, the dread settling in my bones. Could this day get any worse? As I turned back to Jason, worry etched deep lines on his face. There was a vulnerability there, something raw and almost unknowable. Without warning, a man rushed past, trait strikingly familiar, a man I recognized from photos on Jason's social media. An influential figure embroiled in endless scandals. Hope and fear clashed within me. The realm of Jason's world beginning to unravel in flashes of reality. "What's happening?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Stay here," he commanded, standing abruptly. But before I could protest, he took off into the fray, swallowed by the chaos. My heart raced, caught between the unsteady ground of familiarity and the fraying edges of newfound connection. As I faced the turmoil closing in, a shocking realization settled over me like dusk. The life Jason led was far more tangled than I ever expected, and I was standing at the precipice, straddling the line between two worlds, one where I existed and one where I may lose everything I ever cared about. What had begun as a curious invitation now had the potential to unearth demons I had yet to confront. And as Jason's figure disappeared into the fray, I was left alone to confront the very choice I had dreaded: to step forward into the storm or retreat back into the safety of my past. The echoes of chaos faded into the background as the café erupted around me. Instinctively, I looked back at the machine of privilege and power from which I had been drawn, only to watch it unravel at the seams. I gripped the edge of the marble table, my heart pounding in tandem with the thrumming chaos, an urgent drum signaling that everything was about to shift. Moments stretched, and panic began to claw at me. Jason hadn't asked for any of this, nor had I, yet we were somehow trapped in a tempest that brewed not just beyond those doors but within our own lives. Thoughts raced through my mind, questions that hung lazily in the air like an unexploded bomb. What had Vivian meant? Why had Jason looked so horrified? Who was that man? With a sudden rush of determination, I caught a glimpse of myself in the reflective surface of the café window, me wide eyes and trembling hands. I realized then that I couldn't stand idly by, watching my chance slip away into the chaos. I needed to act, even if it meant diving headfirst into unknown waters. I pushed through the crowd, weaving past startled patrons and flaring tempers. The café door swung shut behind me with a crash, but I didn't stop. My feet moved with a will of their own, propelling me toward an entrance blurred by panic and commotion. I stepped out into the street where a frenzy of shouts filled the air, and confusion hung thickly like fog. I caught sight of Jason, his tall frame cutting through the turmoil as he engaged in a tense conversation, his charm stripped away, replaced by urgency. He was enduring a battle, one I had only just begun to glimpse. His brow was furrowed, body tense, and the man he faced, the scandal-ridden figure who had drawn me in with fascination, moved with aggressive authority. "Cut the games, Jason. You can't play both sides. This isn't a schoolyard," the man yelled, voice rising above the din, eyes piercing through the miasma of commotion surrounding us. Steve Donovan. I remembered the name from articles and social media posts dripping with scandal and notoriety. He was far from harmless, with his reputation steeped in deceit. But as I watched this explosive confrontation unfold, I felt myself propelled forward, an unexpected fire igniting within. "Jason!" I shouted, the sound barely breaking through. Then louder, more insistent, "Jason!" He turned slightly, meeting my gaze, and in that instant, I saw strange shades of emotion flickering behind his usual confidence: frustration, despair, a longing for connection. I continued moving toward him, my heart steadying with purpose. The crowd thickened, more people drawn by the commotion, and as I neared, Jason's attention shifted back to Steve. "Don't presume to dictate my choices," he snapped, his voice a taut string vibrating with authority and desperation. "I'm not a pawn in your game. But you're perilously close to losing everything if you don't tread carefully," Steve shot back, direct and merciless. The exchange hung like a weight in the air, each word dripping with consequences that could not be undone. As the tension escalated, my heart pounded in response, becoming a driving beat urging me to intervene. "Stop!" I cried, finally breaking through the barrier of noise. The voices quieted and the moment shifted, all eyes turning to me, some curious, others skeptical. "Jason, what's happening?" I asked, fear threading my voice, but I held my ground, defiance wrapping around me like armor. "And who is this man?" He hesitated, caught off guard by my urgency, and for a fleeting moment, he appeared vulnerably, a soul laid bare beneath the weight of secrets. "This isn't a conversation for now," he started, but I caught the flicker of frustration in his eyes. "Oh, Jason, I won't be sidelined anymore," I insisted, forcing the words to break free. If we're going to try to figure out whatever this is between us, you have to let me in. I can't be just a distraction or an afterthought. You have to trust me. The air sparkled with tension as Jason's jaw tightened, pain reflected in the crinkles at the corners of his eyes. Beside him, Steve remained unwavering, Predator calculating his next move. Then, just as Steve opened his mouth, ready to unleash another volley, a commotion erupted behind Maya Siren's wail breaking through the crowd. Police vehicles swept into sight, flashing lights illuminating the tension-soaked street. Everyone move back. We need to establish a perimeter. An officer barked, attempting to corral the gathering crowd. Of all the days, Jason muttered under his breath, a flicker of despair threading through his voice. Someone's making this messy, I whispered, searching his face for answers. More than just the cafe. More than just us. A flicker of awareness crossed Jason's gaze, as he seemingly connected my concern to the tumult unraveling around us. Yet, as his brow furrowed further, my stomach twisted. I could see the very foundation of his world hanging by a thread, and I could hardly breathe through the implications before our unsteady alliance could gain any clarity. Steve turned on his heel, leaving the confrontation unresolved. There will be repercussions, Jason. I'll be watching, he warned, a chilling promise. Then he was gone, swallowed by the throng of anxious onlookers and chaos. A breath caught in my throat. This battle had only just begun. Jason shifted back, and I felt the remnants of fear dissipate slightly, replaced by something deeper. There was a sense of inevitable change in the air. Whatever this is, we need to confront it together, I suggested tentatively, but I was met with silence. A flicker of uncertainty danced in his eyes, battling against the resolve I desperately clung to. But he didn't reply, his gaze lingering on the distance where Steve had vanished, shadows of concern forming tighter bonds around us. And standing there on the edge of uncertainty, watching Jason's expression deepen with the weight of burdens unshared, I realized that his silence hinted at far more than just the confrontation. It was the hint of secrets too heavy to carry alone. How deep does it go? I finally whispered, the realization hitting hard, reverberating against the uncertainty crashing down on us like falling stones. He looked at me, the flicker of hope I had embraced now tinged with the bitter taste of fear. I wish I could tell you everything, he said quietly, but I can't protect you from what lies ahead. And in that moment, as the chaos faded into the distance, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. The adventure I longed for now loomed larger than life, the shadows of danger ever encroaching. I wanted to chase after this wild ride, but could I? Would I risk losing everything, including my own heart? The question hung heavy and unyielding like an imminent storm waiting to break, and with it the realization. Diving in might shatter the fragile connection we were just beginning to forge. The warmth of the cafe's chaotic energy dissipated into the chill of the evening, where shadows stretched long against the pavement, cloaking the reality settling around us. The police sirens that had once felt like a distant warning now stood sentinel, bright lights flashing like stars caught in a tempest. But all that brilliance couldn't pierce through the murky fog of uncertainty that twined around my heart. Jason. I breathed his name softly, willing it to echo between us over the gathering storm. I could sense that whatever burden he was shouldering loomed larger than the spectacle we had just endured. He ran a hand through his hair, a subtle gesture that spoke of his unease. You don't understand what you're asking for, what it means. Those shadows, they haunt my every step. Were my eyes betraying me, or was I glimpsing sincerity in his gaze? If you knew my world, it could destroy us both. But I'm already in this, Jason. I don't want to be on the sidelines anymore. I took a small step closer, vulnerability etched in my voice, seeking to bridge the chasm formulating between us. You're not getting rid of me that easily. His laugh was sardonic but tinged with appreciation, as if he found some strength in my defiance. It's easier to walk away than to plunge into the mess, trust me. Maybe this mess doesn't have to be faced alone, I countered, timid hope flickering a candle in an encroaching dark. I can navigate it with you, but I need you to trust me. The weight of his silence anchored us in an unnerving pause, the world spinning around us, uncaring for our internal turmoil. I watched him wrestle with his thoughts, the ache of uncertainty crushed under the desire to break through walls he'd spent years building. Fine, he sighed, the weight of acceptance heavy on his shoulders. We confront this together. But you need to understand I can't guarantee safety, or even clarity. There was raw honesty in his words that wrapped around my heart, tighter than any embrace. "Just promise me there will be no more secrets between us," I urged, desperate for the light of willingness in his eyes. "Promise." He took a step forward in solidarity, an unspoken agreement echoing silently between us amidst the chaos. But then, just as the fleeting moment sparked connection, a thunderous crash erupted in the distance. People screamed. An explosion of panic collided with the night air, shifting the atmosphere from fragile resolve to simmering volatility. My heart raced again, fear gripping me tightly. "What was that?" I shouted over the cacophony, instinctively pushing closer to Jason, as if his presence could shield